Hey guys, Ant on the Tech Chap, and this is the new LG UltraGear 27GN950. It's a 27-inch 4K 144Hz gaming monitor. I can't actually see what I'm doing from here, but I'm kind of in two minds about whether you should actually buy this. So it's 4K 144, we get a 1 millisecond response time, then there's G-Sync and FreeSync, display HDR 600, and even a bunch of RGB around the back to make this feel a bit more gamery. Basically, this could be all the monitor you ever need for gaming. And actually, the Nano IPS panel has 10-bit color and excellent image quality, so it's kind of all you need for most professional workloads as well. But then again, when they're asking £750 or $800 for a 27-inch monitor, you would expect it to be something pretty special. But the big question really is, can you even take advantage of this? I mean, even my new PC gaming system with an RTX 3080 is brought to its knees in some games on ultra settings at 4K. And if you are just gaming, wouldn't a Quad HD 144Hz or maybe a 240 or 360Hz 1080p monitor be a better option? But we'll come to that. First off, let's have a look at the design, and it's pretty compact for a 27-inch thanks to these thin bezels. There's also a good range of height adjustment, tilt, and a portrait mode if you prefer, but no side-to-side pivoting annoyingly. The boomerang-shaped stand keeps everything feeling solid, and it has little pads to keep what's technically known as the pointy bits here from scratching up your nice new desk. Around the back, we get a single DisplayPort 1.4 with DSC support, which is pretty important, I'll come back to that, along with two HDMI 2.0s, two USB 3 downstreams, and one USB 3 upstream. There aren't any built-in speakers, but you do get a headphone jack. The circular rear RGB lights give out a nice glow, and while it works better on lighter surfaces, you'll still need to turn the lights down to get the most out of it. And it's controlled by a scroll wheel underneath alongside the regular control joystick, or via the Command Center app. So being a 10-bit panel, this has far more color range than other 8-bit gaming monitors. So this means you're getting richer colors and more subtle gradients between them. It's really accurate as well. In my tests, it covered 100% of the sRGB, although LG reckon it goes as high as 135%, 90% Adobe RGB, and most impressively, 96% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, which is brilliant for a gaming monitor. And as it's IPS, it's got great viewing angles, although sometimes I can just about notice that IPS glow around the edges, particularly in darker scenes. It gets pretty bright as well at just over 600 nits, which means it meets the display HDR 600 standard for high dynamic range. This is better than a lot of gaming monitors, but again, we're paying a pretty hefty premium here. So being this colorful and bright, games really do pop, and if your GPU is up to it, 4K 144Hz gaming is just stunning. Mind you, you will need a beefy graphics card. I needed something like an RTX 2070 or higher to get 144Hz in Siege, although turning down settings and turning on DLSS in supported games will help you get there as well. But at 4K, if you want to get a high frame rate, you can pretty much forget about ray tracing. So this is Crysis Remastered, which is a bit of an unoptimized mess right now, but on my system, which I'm running this on with an RTX 3080, I'm pretty lucky that I have one of those at the moment. We're getting, what's that, 50, 55 FPS at 4K, although this is just with high settings. So if we jump into the options, can it run Crysis mode? 37 frames per second. And this is with a 3080 and a i9 10900K, so Crysis Remastered is a bit of an exception, although even in Flight Sim 2020 maxed out at 4K, I'm still only looking at about 42 FPS on this, although I think they are kind of outliers. Any other game, Fortnite, Siege, Call of Duty, you're probably into the hundreds of FPS with a 3080. So you may be thinking, well, this ticks all the boxes, what a crazy, incredible monitor with those specs, but if you can't max it out, you're not really taking advantage of it, and you'd probably be better off with a 1440p monitor with an equal or greater refresh rate that you can really take advantage of because it's that lower resolution, and then you'd be better in games. Having said that, if you are playing something a little bit older or you're happy to drop the settings and you can get that 144Hz because you've got a pretty powerful PC as well, then, I mean, the sharpness, the pixel per inch density of this 4K 144Hz. In its own way, I know it's not the biggest monitor, but it kind of has its own different sort of immersion just because of how pin sharp and smooth it is. Come on, I've got to at least kill these guys. Nope. I'm just gonna leave it there. And of course, having a fast 1 millisecond response time means each pixel can update itself more quickly, which cuts down on screen blur, known as ghosting, which makes all the motion appear sharper. The problem is, to get that 1 millisecond response time, you have to put it in the fastest game mode, which basically is extreme overdrive, which then leads to inverse ghosting on moving objects and text, which gives you this weird haloing effect, which looks awful. So I'd recommend just going with the default fast setting, which doesn't suffer from this and keeps regular ghosting to a minimum. Input lag is around 4 milliseconds, again a good result, so overall games feel very fast and responsive with this. And on top of all that, it's G-Sync compatible and supports FreeSync Premium Pro, which means it also works alongside the HDR. G-Sync compatible means it doesn't have the dedicated G-Sync module, but still works via the adaptive sync format. So technically this is a very impressive monitor. But let's go back to the question of whether you should actually buy it, because, well, on the one hand, you can't really, mark it down because it's too future-proof, because your current system maybe can't, fully max out 4K 144. But then again, if we're going to see, developments like DisplayPort 2, new monitors coming with HDMI 2.1, which will support both new consoles and also new GPUs, and also prices will come down because this is still pretty cutting-edge tech, it kind of begs the question of whether you should actually buy this right now. But as well as that, I just don't think you can really fully appreciate 4K at 27 inches. Of course, it's incredibly sharp, but I just think you need at least 32, maybe even 40, but just something bigger than 27 inches to really appreciate 4K. And going back to the ports for just a second, with this DisplayPort 1.4 connector, obviously you have to have a card or a laptop that also supports it, because the HDMI 2 slot on this tops out at 4K 60. There's one more thing to consider, and that's that this monitor supports DSC, or Display Stream Compression, which is part of the DisplayPort 1.4a spec and means you can get 4K 144Hz. But the problem is some older graphics cards aren't DSC compliant, which means you're limited to 4K 120 at 8-bit color. So you'll need either an NVIDIA 16 series, 20 series, or the latest 30 series, or an AMD RX 5500 or better graphics card, or a similarly spec'd laptop to get full DSC compatibility. So it's worth checking that your graphics card actually supports this properly. So overall, the GN950 is packed with great tech, and if you can fully take advantage of that 4K 144, then you're going to have a great time with this. And if you do have, a limited desk space, then maybe the more compact 27-inch size will actually be perfect for you. I also really appreciate that this is a borderline professional quality monitor as well, so you could use it for video editing in the day and then maybe gaming in the evening. But if you're after just a gaming monitor, I think there are better options out there, or at least more practical options that also don't cost as much. I still think a 1440p 144Hz display like LG's own 27GN950 would be a better bet, and it will save you over £200 or $200. Or if smooth gameplay is more of a priority than image quality, then why not go with a 1080p 240Hz or even a 360Hz 1080p like this Asus ROG Swift. But if you do have £750 burning a hole in your pocket and you really do want a 4K 27-inch monitor for some reason with that high refresh rate, and you've got a powerful laptop or PC to back it up, then yeah, I do recommend this. I just don't think it's going to be for that many people. It's a bit too niche. But what do you reckon? Would you consider buying this? And do you think 4K at 27 inches is fine? Or do you agree with me that maybe a bigger size is actually better to get the most out of it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you do want to see more from me, including my full review of Asus's 360Hz monitor, then don't forget to hit that little subscribe button below, ding that bell, all those YouTuber things that everyone hates. And I'll see you guys next time right here on the Tech Chat.